Hey, what is going on, guys? Worst Trends here. Object shows are awful. There's countless reasons as to why, many of which I've detailed in previous videos. However, the biggest issue that plagues almost every single object show is the voting. Now, if you're unaware, or stupid, object shows are a genre of webtoon on YouTube. It's where all these little objects— I'm kidding, obviously you guys know what an object show is. Why else would you be watching this? But anyway, most object shows use one of two different voting styles of viewer voting. The first is vote to eliminate. This was once the main form of voting for a very long time. And on paper, it sounds really good. Viewers vote on who they want to be out of the game. You get rid of all the bad characters and keep the good ones. So why has it fallen out of use lately? Well, in concept it sounds great, but in practice it doesn't work well at all. And this is because of one horrifying reason. Kids. A huge amount of the people that watch object shows are little kids, and that kind of messes everything up. See, when voting, most reasonable thinking teenagers and adults look at a cast of characters, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to vote for the most boring character. But kids, on the other hand, are going to vote for whoever was the meanest that episode. It could have been just one scene. It could have been entirely reasonable for the character. But mean equals bad, so get them out of here! What's that? They've been nothing but a good friend and teammate for the last 8 episodes? Well, that's just too bad. They yelled at little Jimmy. There's nothing I can do about it. He's practically the next Stalin. This method also spreads negativity, which is always a bad thing. Most conversations after an episode are mostly about why someone hates a character, but still, this method stayed prominent in almost every object show for about 10 years. However, when the first and most popular object show changed their method of voting, many others followed. This, of course, is BFDI, and this change happened at the same time God left us. This new method of voting was vote to save, which is leagues ahead of vote to eliminate. Now, instead of people discussing why they hate certain characters, they discuss why they love them. On top of this, mean characters are usually spared, as kids are less likely to pinpoint the nicest character of that episode, making their votes more spread out, with one exception I'll get to later. This usually leaves the boring characters getting eliminated as opposed to the mean ones. But this method is not without its problems, mainly balancing screen time. A really good example of this is BFB 22 and 23. In the former episode, Bubble is killed very early on and is never recovered. Because of this, viewers have no reason to vote for her. Of course, Bubble fans will still vote for her, but swing voters are more likely to vote Gelatin or Lollipop that episode. Because of this, she is eliminated the very next episode, despite getting the most votes the previous time she was up for elimination. This is obviously a very extreme example, but you get the idea. Because of this, balancing screen time is extremely important if you want to be fair. However, this becomes close to impossible if you have a lot of characters. A very recent example that I'm sure most of you are familiar with is Animatic Battle. Each episode of this show has 16 characters up for elimination. In order to be completely fair for each contestant, all 16 of them would have to have something memorable to do in that episode. On top of that, there's also the 6 other teams that also have to have a handful of characters doing something. This kind of juggling act is impossible, and in episode 3, it leaves some characters like Hives, Nacho, and Milk Carton with no real reason to vote for them. Also, vote to save might backfire in other ways. Characters like Grassy and Rocky and Teapot are boring and don't add much, but kids are still drawn to these guys, meaning they're not going anywhere, except when they did. This leaves aspiring object show creators, such as myself, in between a rock and a hard place. Really think about it, there's no winning here. Damned if I do, damned if I don't. Okay, then make it a contestant vote. No, I'm not a coward. But maybe, just maybe, there's another method of voting that fixes everything, and that is hybrid voting. I made a short about this a little while back, but basically, viewers get the option to either vote to save a character or vote to eliminate. Saving will add to a contestant's vote counter, while eliminating will subtract from it. The one with the least votes is eliminated. Unbeknownst to me at the time, there is actually a show that's using this, and that's Battle for Caution's McRib. But episode 2 isn't out yet, so we don't really know how the voting went yet. The reason I think this style might be a good idea is that it directly combats characters like Grassy, Rocky, and Pillow. Each of these characters have huge fan bases, allowing each one to stay in the game far longer than they should. This is frustrating to many others who despise these characters. But with hybrid voting, if more people hate a character than like them, they can still be eliminated. But I know what you're thinking. Won't this still cause people to spread negativity when talking about voting? What if everyone just resorts to voting to eliminate anyway and very little votes are for saving? Very valid complaints, but there's an easy fix. Each viewer gets 2 votes each. They get 1 vote to eliminate someone and 1 vote to save someone. There you go. Balanced, as all things should be. But would this actually work in practice is the age-old question. There's no way to know for sure, but we can try. I'm going to be using 4 different BFDI characters, all with different levels of popularity, to try to predict how the voting might go. Take a look at this table. We have Pillow, who has many fans and just as many haters. There's also Winner, who is generally well-liked, with not that many people who dislike him, and so on. You may disagree with this chart, but it's not really the characters that matter, but the roles they fill. Controversial, beloved, hated, and boring. Pillow will get a huge number of votes to save, but this will all be brought down to 0 by the haters. Winner will get a lot of saves, but since not that many people dislike him, he'll only be brought down a bit. Pie is a very similar story to Pillow, just on a much smaller scale. And of course, Robati is the exact opposite of Winner. This will leave Winner being saved first, then followed by Pillow and Pie, and this ends up leaving Robati eliminated, as he should be. Looking at what would happen in a vote to save and vote to eliminate, it's a slightly different story. As you can see, Pillow and Winner are both easily safe during a vote to save. Meanwhile, Pie is in danger alongside Robati. And in vote to eliminate, Pie and Winner are both easily safe. Meanwhile, Robati and Pillow are the ones that are in danger. So, what did this tell us? If this little experiment is accurate, then this method will take the positives from vote to save and vote to eliminate, but won't take the negatives. Only the characters that are generally well liked by all will make it far. This will mean that the finale will be between 2 characters that everyone is okay with. I like both, so I won't be mad when one wins over the other. The more controversial and boring characters will fizzle out towards the middle of the season, which is good because that gives the creators time to make them more interesting or likable, pushing them further into the game. The boring characters are spared from leaving too early, like in Vote to Save, and the controversial characters are less likely to stay in the game longer and have people spread negativity. And I think that says it all right there. If I did my predicting correctly, hybrid voting is by far the best way to go about a viewer voting. If there's anything I might have overlooked, let me know in the comments, and maybe we can come back to this with a different opinion. But other than that, thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.